Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Studio Six Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Hill, with
Shane Feek, and I'm
Shane
here.
Peak.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, on my Restream account, I have like 4 or 5 different intros, and I couldn't
Yeah.
find the right one. So I was like, I'll play them all. No, I should have known right away, but I don't know.
Worked fine to
When
me.
you get your hands full with everything, it's kind of hitting the right button. It doesn't always work out right. But
It's all right.
anyways, I digress. So, how you doing, Shane?
Well, doing pretty good. Just, living the dream. Hanging
Yeah,
out.
right,
And, I haven't done much paranormal stuff lately, but hopefully going to get into it a little bit here when winter gets going. Summer's kind of
right,
busy.
right, right. Yeah. So, I don't. I think you saw that. I partnered with David Taylor,
Yeah, that's cool.
and Kelly Schaefer from Cemetery Files. We're going to do an audio podcast, and we have a group page up. So, if you can find the link on my page, but I'll also post it somewhere on here. But
Okay.
yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I'm pretty excited, and it's kind of like a no holds barred type podcast,
All right.
So it's not video, it's just audio, so which is fine. So I can sit in my pajamas and
Yeah.
do it, and right.
Yep.
So yeah, but tonight we have a great guest, Cyn Shrader Hill. She's an author, also a publisher. She contacted me, and I was excited to have her to the show. So without further ado, let's get her on here and start chatting up what she's up to. Good
Hey, everybody.
evening. Hey.
Good evening.
So
Nice to be
no,
on here.
thanks. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you two?
Doing
We're
all
doing
right,
good. Yeah.
Yep.
Sundays are pretty laid back and pretty easy for us.
Yep.
Me and Shane do the our show every other week. You know what I mean? So I'm not like every Monday like I do with Cemetery Files. So I have a lot on my plate. So it's sometimes like I just did in the beginning when I couldn't find the intro because I've had to have so much on my plate that, you know, but so yeah. So why don't for the people who are a little unfamiliar with you, why don't you go ahead and tell these people that are listening, these wonderful people, who you are and what you do.
Cyn Shrader Hill. I'm author from Fayetteville, Tennessee. So I am in Lincoln County, which, if you're looking at a map, it looks like a little house with a chimney on top of it.
Okay.
And we're right above Huntsville, Alabama, about 30 miles north and 80 miles south of Nashville. So right in the middle. And I formed my team in 2014, Elk Valley Paranormal. Started helping someone else with his books. He's the one that actually does the illustrations and the covers of my books. And he got me kind of the kick in the butt that I needed to write my first one. So here I
That's
am 5
cool.
books later. Yeah. Yeah. So my books are self-published. They're on Amazon. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on a little bit of everything. So you can find me. And I just got off of the podcast that I help with, which is
Okay.
Legit Paranormal Podcast. So
Nice.
That's
just
cool.
Nice.
off of that one onto
That's
you
cool.
guys. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
That is like what you just said, kind of come as you are. It just unfolds as it happens.
Mm-hmm,
You know, it's they're just better that way.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just a lot better that way.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah,
know what's going to happen.
yeah,
Right.
having some structure is okay. I'm all for
Yeah.
it. But sometimes you get when you just kind of do it off the cuff and you're just doing it live and you're not editing anything, it's just things kind of come
It
out and
flows better.
you know, it's better. It's fun.
We have
You
a
know.
good
But
time.
yeah, and that's what it's about too, having podcasts and doing interviews and like having you on the show. And me and Shane have been doing this for going on 4 years, and it's been fun.
Yep.
We've had a lot of guests, a lot of unknown guests, and they were just normal people, you know. I don't think there was one that we ever had on the show that was a bad one,
No,
you know,
good.
or that it made us feel uncomfortable, really. You know what
Yeah,
I
it's
mean?
been great.
That's a
So,
good thing. That's
yeah.
a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
haven't met anybody that I felt uncomfortable with either. And
Okay.
hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
you
right,
just never
right.
know. Never know.
So, tell our listeners experiences and or whatnot in the paranormal.
So I didn't actually get started with the paranormal until 2013. So I started really late as
Okay.
compared to a lot of other people. I've been sensitive all my life, but just didn't know it. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't figure out why things were happening. And
Sure.
some weird things were happening, and deja vu moments, and um, a lot of panic attacks because I was taking on
Mm-hmm.
people's energy and I didn't know
Yep.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So, panic attack after a panic attack. And I had my first one when I was 10. So,
Wow.
it's been kind of crippling, for the
Mm-hmm.
longest until I think it was almost 15 years ago. Someone finally said, you're sensitive, right? No.
Mm.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Right.
And over these last 15 years, I've discovered exactly what it means. So
Mhm.
I've only had one panic attack in the last 15 years that would have sidelined me in the past.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
I was
Right.
able to realize what it was, calm down,
Mm-hmm.
and get out of the situation. So
Mm-hmm.
that's helped.
Mm-hmm.
That, as far as that goes.
Sure.
I've learned a lot. I've
Right.
learned quite a lot and still
Yeah.
learning
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
from,
we all are.
Yeah.
yeah, from everybody around us. So it's been a really cool and ever growing journey. It's
Yep.
Right.
fun.
Right. So, when you basically continuing to learn like that, you run into some really cool people. And then you kind of run into people that really kind of challenge you into thinking different things, or, trying different things like that. I mean, because the paranormal field is kind of vast in that area, where there are so many different elements in the paranormal field that these people come out of the woodwork, and you think that you got something figured out, and until you got a different angle, until somebody
Yeah.
says, hey, what about this, or why don't you try this, or, so that's why I like, the paranormal field the way it is, in that sense, and talking to other people and doing the podcast shows and stuff like that, just to get that feel of a different opinion.
I do
I mean,
too.
I pick Shane's brain, all the
Oh
time.
yeah.
I mean, he's we're the yin and the yang, and so he's the scientist. And what are you, 80% skeptic,
Yeah.
20%, or
Yep.
is it the opposite?
Yeah. 80% skeptic. Yeah. 20% believer.
Right. So I mean, we kind of I can bounce ideas off of him and get some really good feedback, and so it works. And so with you, just learning some of this stuff since 2013, you know I'm sure that there's going to be more people that you're going to run into that are going to be
Oh
like,
yeah,
that are going to blow your mind in that sense. So yeah,
absolutely.
the paranormal field is there. I would like to say that there's a big bowl full of nuts, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some different people in there, but it all works,
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I love to do investigations with other teams
mhm,
because they do things differently.
Yeah. And
And
I do
you
that too.
learn.
right,
Oh, I think it's a great
yeah,
idea.
Yeah.
And
right,
when you start closing off and saying, well, this is how we do it and this is the only way we do it, you're going to lose some ground.
I agree.
There's
Yep.
so
right,
many
Absolutely.
ways. And like you
yeah,
say,
yeah.
coming at it,
There are teams out there like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
they like to do it their way,
yeah, and
which is fine.
that's okay. Yeah, that's
That's
okay.
their prerogative.
Yep.
I'd rather go as
But
far as I could with the situation. So yeah, I'd like, okay, there's 3 or 4 different ways you could have done that. All right,
Yep.
let's
mhm,
talk about them and
Sure.
learn about
right,
them.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I just the elements of the different elements that people bring to the paranormal field, plus the fact that like you said, I like to go with other teams. I don't get the opportunity too much, but I have done some virtual walkthrough because I am a psychic medium, so I'm able to do that with teams where I can virtually, they can walk me around on their phone, and I can pretty much tell
Nice.
them, you know, and I get billed to do that, you know. So I mean, it's just I would like to be able to do it more, but nobody's really taken me up on it. But I have done it a few times, enough to where it's very enjoyable and it's a learning experience. Every other investigation is different, and I think that,
Yes.
you know, has there ever been a location that you've gone to that just kind of scratches your head, saying, you know, why is this haunted? You know, why is this something that people consider to have spirits? You know, it kind of made you think a little bit outside the box on that.
Nothing.
I'm going to give you a couple tough questions. I'm just telling
Yeah,
you.
no, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. It's just that I found my thing that I found I love to do the most is EVP work. So finding the
Mhm.
voices is
My
my
wife
thing.
does that too. That's what her thing is, EVP.
Mhm.
And it becomes just, you know, part of you. You're always listening and always
Yep.
finding them and trying to look for them. And you know, I'm in the South, and everything around us is haunted. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we're on Indian ground. We've got
Right.
Civil War blood. We've got, you know,
Right.
just everything.
Right.
And
Right.
you can't throw a rock without missing something haunted.
Right. Right. I've heard
Now,
that.
my co-founder, Sean, is my skeptic, and he has gone from 100% skeptic to 80% skeptic down to he's about 50-50 now because of all the things that he's seen. And
Mhm.
it's just we're in an incredible area. I love to go other places too. Pennsylvania area, Gettysburg,
Oh yeah, I'd love to go there.
Oh man,
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
one of my bucket list areas.
Gettysburg.
Gettysburg,
Yeah.
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 so many
Right.
places.
Right.
So it's
Mhm.
just there's now that I'm involved with the paranormal, there's not too many places that I have gone that I haven't gotten at least something. Now,
Sure.
Right.
I haven't gotten, you know, like you'll go to an investigation, say you've got one location you do all the time. One night you're going to have just a buttload of stuff. The next night you're going to have nothing.
Oh
You know,
yeah, it
it's just,
happens.
Right.
For
Right.
sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, a dead night,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
you just,
I talk about that a lot with
yeah,
frequencies. Yes. It's just it's not on demand. You
no,
can't.
no.
No.
You
And
know
it's
what I mean?
almost
It
like,
just happens that way.
exactly. And a lot of
Yeah.
times when these locations are inundated with all these people coming in all the time, don't you know the spirits are just like, ugh, not
Yes.
again.
We talk
Right.
about this all the time on our show.
All the
Yeah,
time. Oh my God. It's
it's
just
probably like you walk in the door and they go out the other one, just like,
right.
let's go out here for a while.
Right.
You know,
Right.
oh, they're
Right.
coming in this one. Let me tell you
Yeah.
a story. One
Okay.
of the coolest EVPs I've gotten was at a residential, and I knew something was around me. I couldn't see him, but I felt like it was a person. And we were just setting up, going around, and I said, "I know somebody's with me. I'm just taking pictures. Come with me into the next room." And I said that for about 2 other rooms. I said it when I was going over my EVPs later, all my audio. This little curmudgeon voice says, "I got better things to do than to follow you around all night."
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
just never know. You never
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a spirit with an attitude, you know?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of them.
Oh,
There's a
I'm
bunch.
sure. I'm sure. Yeah. Now, Shane, you haven't been to Gettysburg, right?
No, I've never been there.
Right. So
No.
you've been to some of the places on the East Coast.
I've been to the farthest I've been is Hinsdale House, which is New York, West New York. That's the farthest I've been towards there.
Okay. Okay.
At least for haunted
Now,
houses. I've been to
right.
like New York, New Jersey, and some other places for business, but
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. You're not thinking of paranormal when you're.
No.
Actually, I'm thinking of paranormal all the time. So.
I am too. Yeah.
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 That's just. I work in a place in a private country club that that's has activity. So
Well, and whenever we're talking about vacations, I'm like, ooh, maybe St. Augustine this year,
right.
because
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. You just try to hit them all.
Right, right. So I would basically say, you know, if anybody's listening and you want some cool places to go, research it. Research some of these places.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily have to go because it's haunted or whatever, but there's most of the locations that are supposedly haunted and have activity are great vacation spots.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like Gettysburg. I mean, you talked about St. Augustine. That's Florida. So I mean, why not? Kind of make a day out of it.
Yep.
But I know that there aren't a lot of people all that are into paranormal, but there's enough of us that of the collective that are into the paranormal can probably come up with a list of great places to go.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So
I think they're
so talk.
coming out of the woodwork now, so more people are
Yep.
getting
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
interested
for
in it.
sure.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
they're actually coming up with like, what do they call it? Destination paranormal event,
yeah.
things like that. Like,
Right.
the entire city of New Orleans has things going on, voodoo and ghosts and everything. And then you got Myrtle's Plantation that's not too far from it. So that would be.
Right.
I've been there. I just haven't
Right.
investigated anything there.
Right.
So
Yep.
that would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I've been out west. I haven't really been east, and so I've been to out west, like the Stanley Hotel,
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
the Rocky Mountains.
that would be awesome.
I've been there probably 3 times, and I've had experiences pretty much the 2 of the 3. So, it's places like that that really can kind of, it's good for business, and it's, people kind of build their building as a great place to stay, but it's also got spirits there and everything. So it's kind of like, I would say for me, I'm an out west freak. I love out west. Like I said, until I've been to the East Coast, until I go there, I can't make that that connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, talk a little bit about your book.
Oh,
Do you have a
yeah.
book out? Yeah. Do
I
you have
have
a book?
5. I
Okay.
have 5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just
Wow.
brought my 5th one out. I'll tell you briefly about each one, and then if you'd like, I can tell you a couple of stories.
Yeah,
Sure.
please do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, the first one I did is called Whispers in the Dark. It is true ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
These are all on
Nice.
Amazon. This one has 23 short stories, and that's all I do, short stories. But
That's
Mhm.
cool.
18 of the 23 are in the county I live in. So it's a lot
That's
going
awesome.
on in this area. And then there's 2 from Lynchburg where Jack Daniels is made. It has
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
to do with Jack Daniels, but it's just right there in the town. And
Right.
then 3 others that one I was on vacation, one is when I lived in Arizona, and a third one thrown in. So a lot of things going on in that book. The second one was a book of fiction that the guy that does my illustrations and covers decided to do. So it's fiction, Web of Terror.
Nice.
Back to true stories. This book, the third one, was supposed to be my first one. I couldn't figure out how to do it. This one's called They're Speaking, Are You Listening? My Most Compelling EVPs. And these are investigations I've been on and the voices I've caught. And the thing about this book is, as you're reading it, when you come across the paragraph that has an EVP in it, you can go to elkvalleyparanormal.com, pull up the evidence section, they're
Oh,
speaking,
nice.
and actually hear them. So there's over
Right.
100.
Cool.
There's over 100 in the book.
Oh, wow.
And the little
Oh, yeah.
curmudgeon man I just told you about at that residence, he's in it.
That's cool. My wife
Nice,
would probably like
nice.
that book.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's into the EVPs.
Yeah, I think she'd like that one too. And some of them are class A's where there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
question. But then
Yep.
others you have to listen, even with earbuds and headphones, maybe 2, 3, 4 times. Some of them you might never hear exactly what
Oh, of course.
I
That's
heard.
typical. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's all. Now, when 2020 came up, I was going to write this next book. And this one, God kind of put it in my lap. And I was like,
Mhm.
I write scary stories. Well, I'm not sure why I'm writing this one. This one's about signs from our loved ones. So it's not goodbye, signs from beyond.
Mhm.
And I wanted to write about near death experiences, deathbed conversations where our loved ones are about to pass on and they're talking to somebody in the room we can't see.
Mhm.
Um, Pennies left for us, cardinals in the yard, wind chimes ringing. We smell that scent that dad
Mhm.
always wore in the room, cigar smoke. That favorite song comes on the radio all the time, every day, same time
Mhm.
every day. Um, our dreams and visions of our loved ones, even pets coming back. So that's what this book is all about.
Mhm.
And when I started writing it, I had very little to put into it. And so I sent out feelers and said, I'm looking for these kinds of stories. Do you have them? I had things come from all over the United States, from
Wow.
when I worked in Washington State and Maine, they sent stories, Texas, um, all over. And even one girl sent me one from England about her losing her grandfather and adopting his cat after he died. And then the cat died from the same thing the grandfather did. And
Wow.
now they both visit her.
Hmm.
So
Oh wow.
it's been something. Yeah, it's been really wild. But I tell you, I lost my motivation right after I started writing this one, and then didn't get it back from 2020 when everybody else lost their motivation too. I
Yeah.
didn't get it back the
Mhm.
next year and started writing again in 2023. So the very first part of the year. And I'm sorry, started writing like 2021, 22. And I got started in March and banged out just a bunch of stories right after the other. And in April, we lost my nephew. He was only 19 and a half, and he died in
Oh.
an
Oh
accident.
wow. I'm
And
sorry.
he was my mini me. I
Mm.
was training him
Mhm.
to go on investigations with me. I was training him to be my videographer. And
Mhm.
he was just real interested in everything we were doing. And he was always listening to what Sean and I had to say about the investigations and really into it. And then I lost him. And so there went motivation again. But about 3 weeks after that, I thought, okay, that's why I lost the motivation back in 2020. I was supposed to hold this book to get his story as the main
Oh.
one. So this is
Oh
Oh
yeah.
Wyatt's
wow.
book. Yeah, it's dedicated
Mhm.
to him. And it's been incredible since he died on the 6th of April, 2022, how many times he has checked in. One of the first things that he started to do was at his home, of course, he would um, leave his bedroom door propped open and the light on. And so, after about the first week after that, Susan said to herself, yeah, there's no reason to leave the light on. I'm going to shut his door. That way, when I open his door and go in for something, I can still smell him. She
Mhm.
wanted to keep the room
Mhm.
like it was, right?
Yep.
So
Right. Right.
she
Right.
closed it. She closed it. She comes back through the same night, and the dog and the cat are just sitting in front of the door, not moving.
Mm.
And she's like, what's going on? And she gets closer to the door and then realizes that a light is shining underneath. Now she had turned off the lights and shut the door.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The light's on. So she opens the door and says, I'm sorry, Wyatt. I'll leave it on. I'll leave it on. So every time she shut the door and turned off one of the two lights, one was a three-way switch,
Yep.
and the other was one of the
Mhm.
push pulls, push
Mhm.
pulls. And he was turning on one or both of those lights
Wow.
every time, every day for it was about 3 months.
Mm.
And he would open his door if she'd shut it. And it got to the point where if she knew I was coming over, she would shut the door just to see if he would open it for me. And he
That's cool.
actually did one night. He actually did one night.
Oh wow.
So he's appeared to her 3 times, twice in a dream vision, and she's actually seen his
Mhm.
reflection in a picture on the
Wow.
wall and things like that.
Wow.
I, being the EVP person that I am, if I had just been thinking the whole time, I would have been checking everything I was recording, but I was not. And I had
Mhm.
my sister was telling me a story on the 23rd of February this year about him coming to visit her in a dream and was describing it to me and everything. And it was so, it's hard hearing the stories about Wyatt. So
Sure.
Mhm.
after recording that in February, it was April. No, it was in March when I finally got the nerve to listen to it and transcribe it. And I get just over 6 minutes in, 6 minutes and 32 seconds. And Wyatt says, "Did you hear that?" And
That's
he
cool.
he had tapped on something twice. And his
Mhm.
voice is the clearest EVP I've ever gotten in my life,
Wow.
and the loudest and the most unmistakable. Nobody has questioned
Right.
what he's saying.
Right.
Mike on the podcast, I played it for him, and he said, "Cyn, people are going to say it's fake. It's so clear." And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, they
Mhm.
will."
My
But
wife's found a couple like that are just so amazing.
yeah, and they're incredible.
Yep.
They're just
They're
incredible.
few and far between, but once in a while.
Yes, yes. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
Wyatt's book. It's not Goodbye Science from Beyond. Now, my latest book
Mhm.
just came out, Realm of Shadows, and it's some of the darker things that have happened, some of the darker
Mhm.
investigations I've been on, and my friends as well. And these are some of the ones I've never been to a place where I felt anything demonic,
Mhm.
but a couple of my friends have.
Mhm.
And like one of the girls that I know, she actually is one of the 3 that puts on the expo in Nashville, Tennessee Haunts and Legends, Regina. She sent me one when she went to St. Albans with 2 of her teammates. And she was discussing this with me and told me the story. And it was one of the ones that stayed with me as far as, wow, if that can happen to her, it can happen to anybody. So
Mhm.
you always have to really
Mhm.
protect yourself. But what happened was she and her 2 teammates went into this schoolroom like area, and she went up to a chalkboard and was writing, pretending she was teaching. Her teammates were doing a EVP session. They had the camera and the recorder going both, and they were into their spirit box session. So they were concentrating on that. And then they realized that she wasn't moving after a few minutes, and they called her name and she wouldn't answer. She was standing in front of the chalkboard just like a statue.
Yep.
And afterwards, what she said is she could hear them talking, but it was like it was in a long tunnel. She was at the other end, and then everything went black. Now, what they saw is they were calling her name, and about the 3rd or 4th time they called her name, she finally turned around, but it was not her face.
Oh no.
Mhm.
Something had jumped her,
Yep.
and
Yep.
she had no idea. They got her out of the situation and basically grounded her. Took her
Mhm.
outside, walked her around so she
Mhm.
could get grounded. And she came to outside wondering why they were outside when they had just been in the classroom. And they said,
Mhm.
"You don't remember anything?" And
Mm.
all she could remember was the tunnel and then going black.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's a little terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been jumped before.
Yeah, not a good thing.
When I was driving. No.
Oh,
Yeah. The spirit I had in a vehicle I purchased years ago. Evidently, the gentleman must have killed himself in the vehicle, and for some reasons was unable to leave said vehicle. So he hung out in the vehicle. Me not realizing that at the time, because I needed a vehicle really bad, and it was a really nice vehicle. I purchased it. Would come out to find my radio changed to a religious station every time I would get in my car in the morning. And I was like,
Wow.
what the heck is this? And so I would turn it back and then, listen to whatever and this and that. And I could see him because of who I am. I could see him. I'm like, what is this? So I would try to play it off. I'm like, nah, I don't see nothing. I'll be just driving. About a month later, I was driving to work, and this was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago. He was mad because he knew I could see him, but I was ignoring him. And I was like, yeah, it's just, I knew what he did. I know what he looked like. I knew everything. And he knew that I knew. So something happened where I was jumped when I was driving, and I went through a various range of emotions, considering to being sadness, anger, hatred, violence, all the above. Now, it took me about 5 minutes to get to a gas station to where I could park on the side of the road and have it out with whatever was jumping on me. Now, being who I am, and I knowing my religious stature in that sense, and knowing my connections with Christ and all that, I had prayers already to be said whenever that would ever happen to me. So I went through that whole thing, and then I scolded him very badly and basically told him in not so many words to get the F off me and this and that. So when I went through that whole thing and finally got him out, and then he was kind of depleted. Well, my truck started falling apart. Pieces started to break.
Oh no.
And it was a newer vehicle. It shouldn't have, happened. Needless to say, I traded that vehicle in pretty much for the same price that I got it for, because it was a nice vehicle. And when I left, he was still in the vehicle, mad as hell and pounding on he was like, he trapped himself.
Wow.
Should I have helped him? Yeah, I probably should have helped him, but where do I start?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I really don't, not that I wanted to get away, because it was a bad situation, because his energy was getting more negative and more negative, and he was getting stronger in that sense. And I didn't want something to happen to me or my family or,
Mhm.
Sure.
so I had to distance myself from that, so I just said, I got to cut this loose. But at that point, I wasn't quite where I'm at now with helping spirits cross over and this and that. But I thought about, how could I help him?
Mhm.
I mean, so it was just one of those things where that was an experience, and that was something I learned from. So when that would happen in the future, then I would know how to handle it, which
Right.
it has kind of happened in the future, as since then, and I've handled it accordingly, and a lot of it has to do with respect for spirits who are not ready to go in the light.
I was going to
Treating
ask
them with
you.
treating them with the respect that they deserve, saying, I know that you think, you're deceased. I know that you're angry. I know this, but I respect the fact that that's your decision.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's your decision. You own it. I try to make them feel like I would feel like if I was talking to a living person
Exactly.
Sure.
on this side. You know what I mean? So I want to share that commonality of respect,
Mhm.
and regardless of who it is and what that person has done, I've always made sure to tell them, you're deceased. What's happened on this side happened on this side. It kind of doesn't transcend. You can think it transcends, but it
Mhm.
really, you have a choice to make. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So I've ran into different things like that, and it's just. But when you talk about, things like your friend in standing in front of that chalkboard, people don't realize that if they're not protected or not guarded in some way
Yes.
or grounded, it's like a negative entity sees that as an opening,
Mhm.
because the fact that, number one, it's more energy.
Mhm.
Number two, it's a different scenery.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they're able to look through their eyes, it's a different whole scenery. I mean, things look different over there compared to over here.
Right.
So yeah, so there's an attraction to that. You know what I mean? So Yeah. How is she doing now?
She's fine.
Okay.
She said that one half of her wants to go back to St. Albans to confront and get past her fear. And the other part of her says, that was enough. I don't want to give it a chance. So she
Mm-hmm.
has not been back yet, but she's still debating on whether or not, she
Sure.
will go back. And as
Right.
far as
Right.
yours, he might not have crossed over anyway. He might not have wanted to. It kind of
No.
sounds like
No.
he wanted to stay
Uh,
around.
a lot of it with that entity was his guilt kind of kept him there.
Yeah, and that's a
He
lot
he
of it.
guilted himself into his own cage, and guilt is one of the biggest I would say self-made cages
Mhm.
that people, even on this side,
Sure.
Yes.
even living people, can be in feel so much guilt that you don't think that you can evolve out of that. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I think
guilt is the main thing. I think that people want to stay on this side. Their fear of judgment, their fear of what's on beyond the light, what's you know, it's it is what it is. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's just I can't say I've not crossed over. I don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Right.
I know what's on the immediate other side, but before the light, but after the light, that's
Yeah.
I'm not privy to that. I
No,
don't know that.
we're
But
not
all I can
evidently
say is
not
that you have
supposed
to
to.
trust that you know that spirits and God and your creator and all that. It's all love and it's positive. Yeah, it's what people who are sensitive and people who are mediums and people who are gifted in that sense experience all that stuff.
Yeah. See, I don't ever have to deal with it for
he
the most
he
part.
doesn't have to deal with it,
They leave me alone. I don't know.
yeah, and that's his analytical mind is just blows me away. I mean, yeah, he thinks numbers, he thinks
Yep.
formulas, he thinks all this stuff. So I'm sure that any spirit would probably be like, I hate numbers. I'm
Oh
not
my
Yeah.
paying
gosh,
that.
They're like,
I
I'm
I'm
out.
I'm
This
out. I'm
guy's
like,
crazy. They take one
right,
look in
right,
there and they're like,
right. They're gonna
I ain't
take one look
staying.
in Shane's head and they're gonna be like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm
No,
done.
no, no. You know, so and sometimes you just wonder, what they're thinking. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
yeah. Now, have you had other experiences? Have you had any experiences yourself?
Oh yes, and some odd. Um, I wasn't aware that not only should you protect yourself for investigations and protect yourself against people that can drag your energy down.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I was not aware that I was supposed to protect myself from doing review of my evidence.
Mm, okay.
You don't talk
Really?
about that. Yes. So
Hmm.
what I found, I had a strange case come up a few years back that we went and did an investigation out in the country, and she had brought in some arrowheads and Indian rocks and even a cannonball she'd found, and all of this energy that was connected to these objects were in her home. And
Wow.
so she had like opened the door for these wandering spirits in and out of her house. So she was having experiences and couldn't understand what was going on. We came in to investigate. But after we investigated her home, her friend reached out to me. Now, I have not met this friend. To this
Okay.
day, I
Hmm.
have not met this friend. It's only through emails. And this girl, since we had helped her friend, she had stayed at this house, had seen an entity, and had gone on walks, on ghost walks, and seen things happen. And she was very into it, very interested in it. So much so that she was not protected at all.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
things were following her. And
Interesting.
she sent me a video and said, please tell me what you see. Well, it was a video of her living room, there was no sound and nothing paranormal. And I said, I'm sorry, there's nothing there. And there's no sound, so I can't tell you if there was
Yep.
any evidence of EVP
Right.
or anything.
Right.
Immediately, it was like she sent me 5 clips. It was like within the next hour, I got 5 clips from her, about 2 minutes long each. One was set, one in the living room, one in the bathroom, one in her parked car, closed car by itself. And another one was too close to a radio. That's the only one that I couldn't find anything from because the sound was just too much.
Yep, sure.
It was, yeah, right.
Right next to the radio. So I couldn't do it. But I pulled out something from each of the other clips and sent them to her. And she said, my brother wants to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, is that a good thing? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
And she said, he's a cop. Okay. I know I've not done anything. So
Yeah.
do I need
Cyn's in trouble.
Yeah, right. So she said, nobody believes me. And you finally are telling me that I have proof of voices. She was telling everyone, and she had filed so many police reports of stalking, that she was being stalked. She could see these things. They were following her. She would go to a theater, go to see a movie, and one of the people in the audience would stand up in a hoodie, turn and look at her, and it would be one of these things.
Wow.
She would look out her window and there would be 2 things on the next rooftop. And I mean, they were everywhere. They were stalking this girl. And she was terrified. No one believed her because nothing had been seen. So I talked to her brother and he says, what is it? And I said, she is actually being stalked by a couple of very intelligent spirits.
Wow.
And he said, my religion will not allow me to accept that. And I said, I understand. I get it. But that's not helping her. So he says, well, what can we do about it? And I said, she's got to be, her entire property has to be cleansed. She's got to be cleansed. And she needs to actually talk to somebody.
Sure.
In a therapy position. She needs to go talk to that understands the parapsychological stuff that can help her through this. Otherwise, she's going to go crazy because you all are not believing her.
Yep.
So, long story short, she was so excited. He believed me. He wanted me to come down. It was too far. I offered to help him find another group. And I think they did. So within this time, she sent me a couple more clips. And I was like, oh,
here we go again.
I can't deal with it tonight. I've talked with your brother. You know, I've had too much. So I closed the computer for the night. Didn't even open the emails. That night, for some reason, my husband and I got into a little tiff about something stupid. Now, it didn't last, but maybe a couple of hours. And we got over it and everything was said and done. Not a problem. Went to bed that night, slept, woke up the next morning, go to work. And that next night I decide, okay, I'm going to go see what she sent me. And I opened the first one and it said to her, you're never going to get rid of us. We know where you are, no matter where you move. I mean, it was just a continual barrage of this. We're going to get you. It doesn't matter where you go. And I thought, bless her heart, you know, if she doesn't get any help. The second one I pulled up. It was to me.
Is this audio?
Yes.
Okay.
That I got the night before.
Right.
I never opened until the following night. It said, Cindy, which is what my family calls me, come down here. We'll help you with that situation my husband and I have thought about. We'll help you with that. You don't need
Yeah, I
him.
bet.
Come on down.
No.
And I mean, I was like, what did I just hear? What? And I listened to it again to make sure I wasn't going crazy.
All right.
And it was the exact words. And I was like, nope, nope, nope,
I would know about that.
no.
nope.
No.
And I was like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I know I'm not dealing with that girl again though. So I sent her the first one and said, here's what this says. And I'm sorry, but this is all I can do. You've got to listen to people down there, a team or something. I can't help you
Sure.
anymore. I talked to Mark, the one that again does my covers. He's a psychic medium and trance artist and that kind of thing. And I said, Mark, something happened and I don't understand what it was, but I'm freaking out. And he said, well, calm down and tell me. And I did. And he said, okay. He said, it's a parlor trick.
I knew it.
What?
Oh,
A
man.
parlor trick?
I knew you were going to say that. Son
He
of a
did.
bitch.
He said they can read your aura if you've not cleansed your aura or your system or grounded yourself or protected yourself in a 48-hour time period. They can read your aura for the last 48 hours. And he said, whenever you do any kind of spirit work, whether you're talking with a Ouija board, pendulum, it doesn't matter. If you're doing EVP work over the computer, protect yourself because they can come through and cause you, if not anything else, worry.
Yeah, sure.
And you out. So that was
so here's the thing that usually they need a living person to also felicitate this action when you I've had that happen, so I know exactly what you're saying. So when you said parlor trick, I was like, son of a bitch, I knew that. So yeah, I've had that happen before, but usually they need a solicitator, a living person that can actually partake in that so that they can help bridge the gap. And that's how they can get to people. Now there aren't a lot of them around, but there are enough that it's I've ran into a couple, but my guides are good enough and I'm grounded and protected enough to know that you might want to rethink that. And then I know it, you know what I mean? I'll know it, and it'll be like there'll be one time where me and a friend of mine, Josh, my camera guy from my other team, says he wants us to go to this place out in the country and it's haunted and this and that. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah. Well, I started remote viewing it, and the first thing I saw was the living person, and then what was behind her, and I was like, hell no.
See, I would be like there, like right now.
No,
I'd be like, I'm taking my stuff, and here I come.
Yeah, that's a whole psychological warfare that I could not. That I didn't want to.
I usually don't have to deal with that part of it. I just put down instruments and see what the data loggers say.
So Shane or Josh said the same thing to me. Right before we were supposed to leave for this, he called me up and says, I just got this really weird feeling of not to go. And I did too. And so we decided not to go. Well, come to find out that later on in the last few years, he's come into his gifts. My friend Josh is got gifts, and I've kind of helped him here and there. And he, so we were on the same wavelength. So I know that parlor trick that sucks. I'm sorry you experienced that, but
I'm glad
what my guys always told.
I'm glad
it's an experience. Yeah. It's a learning experience.
Yeah,
total learning experience.
Yeah, I can.
Because Mike basically when I prayed about it and talked to my guides about it, they said you needed to see that, you needed to experience it because this is out there. You can't naive and not experience this.
And you can help other people now.
Yes.
In it. Yes. So I am always preaching, please protect yourself. Yeah. And people think it's just Ouija boards that can be the culprits of evil coming through. No, it can be a spirit box.
Yeah.
It can be the computer. It can be anything where you're actually asking the pendulum. You can ask a question of spirit and it comes through. You've got an opening right there where you've got to close it too. Always close whatever you open, or the door stays open and things can pop through you don't want to pop through.
Now, let me ask you, Shane. Have you ever experienced anything like that where 1 minute during the day that you're fine and you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden you have an energy flux of, why am I pissed off? Why am I angry? Why am I? Have you ever experienced that to a level where you recognize that you stop and say, what the fuck? What is that?
Probably maybe twice in my whole life.
Boy, are you
And I've been
lucky.
around a long time.
You're
So
a
I don't know, but not very often. I'm not sensitive to that stuff for the most part.
Well,
You
I
know?
guess everybody is different. And so, people experience things differently. There's not one single person iota that is the same. So, spiritually and physically.
Yep.
So, thanks a lot, buddy.
I'm just lucky, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so it sounds like that you've had quite a bit of experiences, different experiences, since being in this field, so, but I think that, you're probably still experiencing things, and there's probably more things that you'll learn that I'll learn, and that and that's part of the reason why I do the shows I do, because I want to be able to interact with other people that have similar stories or same stories, or, intriguing stories, things like that just want to, share what's going on,
So,
Exactly.
Cyn, do you guys use any other kind of equipment, or is it just voice recorders and, chill?
So my favorite is the voice recorder.
Yep.
And a flashlight, just to, so you're not tripping. Not a flashlight for yes
totally
or no
good.
questions. But yeah, I don't want to trip. And camera,
That's pretty
just
much what my wife does. That's how she does her investigations.
I
you
like
know.
copper rods too once in a while.
I've never tried any of those, but
We've actually gotten not just yes and no answers, but the spirit will actually lead you to where something is. So like in the old hospital, it's like witching for water, really.
Sure, yeah. I've heard about
And
dowsing,
yeah. You're holding them straight ahead and walking slowly, trying to find out the location something happened.
Sure.
And the spirit took us right to the room that something had happened. So, things like that have been shown in, around the rods and everything. We've got other things. We just don't use them as much as that. What my other teammate Walt, he's my hippie mountain man and knows native stuff in and out, and
Excellent.
The earth, and he's an incredible person. He's very, very spiritual and
very in tuned.
Well, oh goodness, yes, grounded and all that good stuff. Has a lot of experienced times and different things that he's seen and heard. But one thing that he brought to the table I had never seen was the plasma ball. The little plasma balls you can get?
Use those actually. I use those, and I have mine hooked up to data loggers, and we've actually had some activity with it. Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So we all, three of us now have the plasma balls, just in case one of us can't be there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Things like that. So those are my favorite kind of things.
See, a lot of times I'll do completely automated investigations. I'll literally come in, set up all the equipment, test it real quick, shut the door, lock the door, go out, hang out at the bar for a few hours, come back, pick it up. And I find more stuff with that than when my teammates are there. It's like people's presence gets rid of the spirits.
Yeah,
plus there's so much. It's so hard to get rid of the noise and the people and the, if there's nothing there, if there's a noise, it's from something that's not, people.
Well, and it's like we were talking about. If you come in the room, they go out the other hallway. Like nope, not tonight. I'm not dealing with living people
Yeah.
tonight.
Yep. Yeah, the computer controls the whole thing,
Yeah.
and the computer don't care, and it don't lie, and it just gives you numbers and video and audio and everything. So
That's awesome.
completely automated.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've one of our best videos we've caught at the old hospital was on a trail cam. They just left running while we were in the other part of the building.
A lot of times. Yep.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good stuff.
So yeah, we are about at the end of our rope, I would say, send me the link to your books, and I will post them on my page, and I will post them also on the audio file, so that when I do get this uploaded tonight, then I'll have it at the bottom of the episode, so that everybody can do this. Because I tell you what, this has been a great conversation, and I mean, this is the hours flew by, and so
it went too fast. Went way too fast.
Yeah, right. So, and you talked about the Paracon, the legends, and
Tennessee Haunts and Legends.
Yes. My other co-host, Kelly Schaefer, was there with Cemetery Files.
Really?
Yes, she was there, and she had the Studio 6 Productions banner, the whole 9 yards. I wasn't able to come because I had to work, because I'm up in Wisconsin, but she represented, and she said that place was awesome. So
we had a great time.
Right.
We had a great
time. You should probably hook up with her,
yes.
Follow her, and then she's probably got great stories. You guys probably get along very well. And then we could try to have you on the other show come the first of the year.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful.
Okay. All right. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And I want to thank our guest. Thank you so much, Cyn Shrader Hill. It's been fantastic. You've got great stories. And I will definitely post up those links for your books. And you can check them all out on Amazon. So we want to thank everybody again for tuning in. And I want to thank my co-host, Shane. Yep. And we will talk to you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everybody.